Okay, namaste to all of you. So we are meeting after almost a month on this topic. I had to go away to India for a death in the family. I'm back. So as always, every time I change my background, you can see my background. You can see a young boy sitting on a rock in the midst of a river and meditating. This place is called Sringeri in Karnataka, which is probably closer to Kavita's hometown than my hometown, which is Bangalore. So this is where my guru, the Sringeri Shankaracharya's ashram is there. This is where we used to go. And maybe at this boy's age in teens, we used to go to the same exact same place. This is really interior. 95% of people will not go there. We used to go there, sit on the rock, and like what this boy is doing. After all our what we call as nitya karma anushtana, as we say, we do oblations in the river. We used to sit and meditate exactly like this. So this is a wonderful place, particularly when you go in the any time after October to let us say April kind of a time frame. People who are coming from Europe and America will find it very pleasant, exceedingly pleasant. It's a bit on a hillock. It's on a hill actually, not on a hillock, proper hill. And adjacent to this, probably about 20 miles from this place, is a small town called Sherapunji, which Agumbe. Sherapunji is in northeast. This is called Agumbe, which gets the second highest rainfall in India. So because of that, it's always green, very, very dense forest, very, very pleasant area. So this is where we used to sit and meditate for hours in our younger days. So I thought this is the place I would introduce you this time. Now, um, so we are coming to the end of almost, I would say, the second chapter. Let me try to share one slide. I hope we are able to see that. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the one which where we talked about um, yeah. Are you able to see the whole thing? No. Let me bring it inside. That may be because yeah. So this is what we talked about, right? How this yamas and niyamas and asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, each samadhi. This is what Patanjali Yoga Sutra talks about it. We have been covering this in chapter 1 and 2. We are almost coming to the end of this chapter. Um, uh, in the last few sutras, we will be concluding this chapter as to how, right? This pranayama, this is what, for example, before we started the session, and this is what probably Miral was talking about, of using the breath control to shall we say manage the process of reaching samadhi. That's what essentially happens. Several different ways of breathing techniques are told, and that's what we try, which will help dharana or concentration, which is very important in a dhyana, which will eventually lead to samadhi. That's how the cycle goes. So how are they linked? That's what we're going to talk about in the slokas, sutras rather. So let me go to, I think we stopped last time at sutra number 2.39. So let's go to 2.40. Mary, can you read that? 2.40, please. Can't hear you.
I would try.
Yeah, please.
Shauchat Svaanga Jugupsha Paraihi Asams Sargaha.
Samsagara.
Asam Sargaha.
Sargaha. Saucha,
Ah,
Svanga, Jugupsa, Parai, Samsargaha. What happens is, we were the previous sutra was insisting upon various kind of purity. In the Yama, Niyama, Shaucha becomes, which is very, very important. What does it do? The purity is not just bodily purity here. The purity of mind, purity of thought, purity of action, all kinds of purity of quest, everything is covered in this Shaucha. What does it do? The purity helps us to develop an attitude of, shall we say, um, I am um, jugupsu. I mean, it's a kind of a disgust, dislike. Disgust is a very strong word, but essentially it is that. It's a kind of, it's not born out of hatred, but born out of an understanding that, be careful with this, what I'm going to say. This should not mislead you in social life. It leads by due to an understanding that vast majority, if not all, of our interaction with anybody in this world, right, within ourselves, with our family, with friends, etc., anybody, unknown people, anybody, any kind of social interaction, any kind of interaction is not very helpful. It actually distracts from the point of view of getting into samadhi. It is not an absurdly wrong in saying that you should not, have a nice interaction with your spouse or children or friends or relatives. That's not the idea. The idea is that if the objective is to move towards getting the Samadhi Anubhava, any kind of social attraction, social interaction, which follows a social attraction, is going to be harmful, and therefore you develop a kind of distaste, right? It's not a hatred bond. It's not a disgust is a strong word, but I would say distaste. I would say simply, you feel you're very comfortable alone. In fact, many Western psychologists also said that um, getting comfortable with being alone is very dangerous. They say once you get comfortable with being alone, your social standing will drop dramatically. Because of your own behavior, you will drive everybody away from you, they say. Therefore, they say that it's important for us to not to get too comfortable with yourself. That's more from a social behavior perspective. From this Ashtanga Yoga perspective, you develop a total understanding that vast majority, if not all, social attractions and social interactions are detrimental. So you develop a distaste for that. That's what um, this is in line with our starting proposition that there has to be a deep recognition that pleasure can come from others, other things. Happiness cannot come. Happiness is internal. That's what our starting point was. That's one of the reasons why the very first sloka sutra says chittavritti nirodha as yoga. Mental modifications have to be sublimated. That is the objective of the yoga. And mental modifications or mental disturbances, whatever way you want to call, is directly correlated to the intensity and the frequency of social interaction which you have. It does not mean you should not live in society. What it means is until you get into a stage, mental preparation, that they no longer affect you, this is going to affect you. Once you reach the state, it doesn't matter. You can be missed of anything and everything, and nothing happens to you. That is the purpose of the objective of this sutra. Any questions? Okay, let's go to 2.41. Yeah, Mary?
okay. Sattva shuddhi saumanasya ekagriya indriya jaya atmadarshana
Yogyata.
yogatvani cha.
Correct. Now, what happens by this? When the purity in thought, word, and deed is maintained, when the social interactions are minimized, what happens is, you don't become what the Western psychologists called as a loner. Their characterization and their definition of a loner is very negative. Yeah. When a loner gets in contact with others, not only the loner becomes very uncomfortable, he makes others uncomfortable too. But here, that is not going to happen. Here, contrarily, yeah, you become much more cheerful. Then, right? Saumanasasya. Saumanasya. Your mind becomes very good and cheerful. When you are in, you don't seek an interaction, but when you are with others, unlike loners who really destroy the harmony of the group, you enliven the group because you are very cheerful. And it increases ekagra. That means your ability to concentrate, right, is very much improved. Indriya jaya, that means ability to manage and keep the senses on control is improved. Atma darshana. Atma darshana means your real identity, who you really are. Atma is that. That Atma darshana means you are able to see your own self, your true identity. You see the difference between these two. The previous sutra talked about jugupsu, you loving isolation, you disliking social interaction. And the very next one says, if you get this power, ability, when you are in the midst of the group, you're going to be very cheerful, you're going to make others cheerful, you're going to have ability to, what should I say, concentrate better, and Atma Darshana happens. Right? Any questions? 42 please. Santosha. We can hear you.
Good.
Now you can. Yeah.
Santoshat, santoshat, anutamaha, sukha, labhaha.
Yes. Santoshat anuttama sukha labhaha. Sukha is the joy, the happiness which we seek. Anuttama sukha means unlimited joy, happiness happens. Labha means you get. From what? From santoshat anuttama sukha labha. That means, that, what are the previous two sutras said? Step one, you find social attractions and social interactions unattractive. You develop concentration. You gain control. You made progress in the whole process, and therefore you became cheerful. Your ability to have atma darshana, seeing yourself, improves. That leads to contentment. Santosha means contentment. It creates. Why? Because you know that all the thieves, all the elements which is going to rob your happiness is disconnected. What are the things which can rob your content, your happiness? Anything, everything else in the world other than your true self takes you away from the source of happiness. That is the starting argument of this Ashtanga Yoga, right? Therefore, anything and everything which can take away your innate happiness is removed, you will be very contented. There's nothing to worry about, nothing to feel bad about. That contentment gives you supreme happiness. Santosha sukha. Santosha is contentment. It is many times santosha is sometimes understood as a happiness by itself. No, santosha is contentment. You've seen yourself. Nothing else is required for you. You don't need anything else. That creates contentment called santosha. This santosha triggers anuttama sukha, unlimited happiness. Yeah. Any questions? Any counterpoints?
I think it would take a lot of practice to able to achieve these things, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think this is where perhaps the Mary's opening question before we started recording is very relevant. Would you like to ask it again so that I can answer again? It is going to take very long. Yes. So what happens to people who are in the pursuit? How long? The honest answer is hundreds of lives, thousands of lives. We don't know. Then what happens to the person who is trying now? If I am told you can try your entire lifetime, 90 years you can try, but most likely you won't get it. What do you do? Do you want to still try?
Of course.
Yeah. So, Mary, what is your question?
So the question is, these little recommendations that they give us is it tells you what you can experience and what you can. This is like this, and yet you're not actually, I mean, you can imagine it in your mind, and there's something very attractive about it and desirable, but it's not like just by reading it you can actually experience it. And then I was looking on at like from long-lasting contentment arises unsurpassed happiness. It sounds good. They all sound good. Perfection of the body and senses arises through self-discipline that removes the toxins. So I've experienced that through the practice of yoga and that, but it's not mine. It's not all, it's back and forth. It's, up and down. It's not consistently something that I've, perfected and established. So my question was what when I put it to you earlier, they all ring true, but how can I make them mine? How can I experience it?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very important question. And both your questions are connected, right? One, Meryl was asking, how long will it take? It will take, like I said, we don't know, maybe 1,000 lives. 1,000 times maybe you have to be born, maybe 100,000 times you may have to be born. We don't know that. Why is it that we don't know? Because we don't know where we are in the progress. We have been trying this somewhere or other in all our past lives, and we have no idea how many past lives we had. We have no idea how much we've tried, where we are in this game. We don't know any of those things. Likewise, after you're dead, what's going to happen is we don't know. Though there are a lot of hypotheses about what's going to happen, we don't know for sure. But the point is, should I try now? If it's going to take 100,000 lifetime, am I in 99,999 or am I in 99? We don't know that, right? So what should we do? This is a very good question. The answer is, it does not matter what you think. As you invest in this practice, right? However imperfect you are, however imperfect we are, including me, we make a little bit of progress in every birth. One thing is very clear, looking at all those things and looking at the proposition that the entire thing was given by Shiva Pashupati himself, who is the perfect yogi. That means everybody else in the world is an imperfect yogi. He's the only perfect yogi, Shiva Pashupati. Therefore, honestly, from that point of view, from Shiva Pashupati point of view, there are no masters. Everybody is just a follower. Everybody is trying. Some are more advanced, some are less advanced. And who determines at what point in time you will get? When I say that Santoshat Anuttama Sukhalabha, you get an idea? You not only get an idea, if you ask me, honestly speaking, you do experience this. The problem with those who are at this game, who are attending many seminars or lectures or practicing yoga, meditation regularly, I mean regularly means at least 3-4 times a week. If people are doing that, They really experience this. It is impossible not to experience this if you're doing the regimen. You will. The problem is not that. The problem is that is momentary. Suddenly, maybe in 30 minutes or 22 minutes in a day, you are so contented and you find you need nothing. You're so happy with yourself. Yeah, Atma Darshana. That happens. Maybe for a few minutes, maybe for a few seconds, maybe for half an hour per day, but it does happen. Without that happening, you will not continue next day. The problem is, how do I retain it 24/7? That's where within half an hour, suddenly something happens and you crash from the so-called elevated position, and then Santosha goes, so contentment goes, and either because you yourself want it or because of the role you're playing demands that you have to run after something. We are all playing roles here as a husband, as a wife, as a father, mother, teacher, whatever, right? We are taking a role that demands it has to be done. So we run after that. The moment you run after whatever is the purpose until you become 24/7 person, which is called Sthita Prajnatva, until that happens, the moment you start running for that, you crash. That is the problem. Now, different people respond differently depending upon how much progress all of us have made. We may give up, we may stop practicing it, we may stop believing this, or some of us may believe, I'm going to make this the objective of life, I'll keep trying until I succeed. And some much less people will understand, not blindly, will understand that at any rate, these are all these are all enabled or given as a gift by Ishvara. Therefore, my end of the bargain is just try. Let it happen, let it not happen at this life, who cares? So when those people who reach that kind of an acceptance, understanding based acceptance, will not try, will not just give up. Yes, Meral, you raise your hand.
Yes, the reason I raised my hand because I think that these pleasant things and these lights and this and that, I think it's very dangerous because we can get so attached to that, and then it develops a huge desire. And personally, I really think that from the most miserable things what we can experience in life, we should welcome that just as much as nice experiences, because the biggest lessons and biggest changes and shift we can do from these horrible experiences what we have. And in those horrible experiences we can just really, I can really just see myself like, can I overcome or am I going to sink? So do I have this kind of a strength to overcome or sink? And sometimes I watch myself and I recognize that of course reading these sutras I'm so grateful that I even have something like the Yoga Sutra, and this is like a map, how to go step by step towards free myself from all of these emotional garbage what I have inside of me. But I can watch myself that I still have so many attachments, and of course I also recognize that I don't know if I can do it or not. I haven't decided yet. I didn't make a decision, but for this to really practice, I would have to let go of everything, especially my comfort, my any kind of attachment. Even like, I don't know too much about Buddhism, but it's a very well-known story about Buddha, that Buddha sat down under the Bodhi tree and said, even if I die now, I made up my mind, I'm never going to get up as long as I don't get enlightened, and I'm ready to die if I have to. So I think that it's like total determination. Is that it, Mr. Rao? What do you think?
It is, though it is told in a dramatic fashion, but the point is that it'll happen by itself when you think that your entire life depends on that, that and enlightenment is the only thing for which you live, right? When you have that real understanding, it happens, right? Um, in fact, if you connect with the Vedanta sessions we have, where we are discussing Bhagavata for the last quite a few months, this is what is told. The very purpose of birth, human birth, is to get enlightenment. That's the only reason why you are given a human body. Otherwise, you don't need a human body. If it's a question of merely existing, as long as life runs and as long you get food, etc., environment is fine, you don't have to be a human being. You could be an animal, an insect, anything. The human body is given to you, the human intellect is given to you, the human power is given to you because, right, you are ready for liberation. That's why there's a song in Karnataka state where me and Kavita come from. There's a song which says that you've crossed 7.4 or 8.4, some type of species. You've crossed all that. You've been born as a human being. There's a Dasa sings. Dasa is a very who spends all the time in this singing songs, devotion songs. He says that you didn't get human birth by accident. You crossed. You all out of some 7 or 8 million other species. You crossed it. You've been born here. For what? He asks. For this. But then, do we think like that? We don't. It does not mean that you cannot do anything else. You can do 100 different things. But the primary objective is this. When that happens, right, automatically, like I said, depending upon which year you're born, where you're born, etc., you will always assume a role. There's nobody in the world who does not have a role to fulfill. Right? You could be a president of the United States, you could be a poor beggar in some poor country. Does not matter. Everybody plays a role. So that role, whatever is the responsibilities and activities associated with it, you will have to do willy-nilly. But that does not mean that you lose track of the point that the objective of getting human birth is this. In which case, what do? Many of you do, all of you do, frankly speaking. I'm very respectful for all of you for what you're doing, in spite of whatever other things you're committed to. You always allocate time for it. In the back of your mind, it's always there. Wherever you go, think about it, right? You're going to drop your son in the school, or Kavita is orchestrating something in a big singing thing, but the back of the mind is there. Some song, for example, her husband sings very, very beautifully. He will sing one bhajan song, suddenly her mind will change. I'm very sure she will relate to what I'm saying. Suddenly, she's taking care of everything, arrangement, everything, and suddenly that bhajan song he sings, her mind goes there. Oh my God, this is what it is. Isn't it? Like Meryl was talking about, which she doesn't talk about, but we should talk about a little bit. Her thought process in how do I regulate my breathing? How do I modulate my breathing when she's lying in bed trying to sleep? Think about that. All of you have given examples of different things, different points in time of a day, doing different things. But the connecting thought, undercurrent is that, what do we do with this? That's all is required. And that cannot happen unless you have spent several past lives trying this. You won't get here at all unless you have done. That is the faith, that is the confidence I'm trying to give here. Yeah, it just did not happen by accident. So, what is important is not to lose time and effort in doubting and things like that, but develop this continuous effort, continuous practice. Practice. Yeah? 43, please.
Kaya Indriya Siddhihi Ashuddhi Ksayat Tapasaha.
Tapasaha. See, what happens when you do tapas? Kaya means body, Indriya means senses, right? All those things becomes pure. Shuddhi is pure. What is tapas? The word for tapa means heat. When you get heat, when a lot of energy is spent, that's called heat. When two things rub, that generates heat, so on and so forth. An activity produces heat. All these things are activity. Pranayama is an activity. Yogasana is an activity, right? So contemplation, thinking, so many, all these things are activities. When you do it with intensity, then it is called tapas. This tapas purifies kaya in the siddhe, right? So that's what purifies. Asuddhi is removed. Impurity is removed. Then 2.44.
Svadhyayat ishta devata samprayogaha.
Swadhyayat ishta devata samprayogaha. What is swadhyaya? What we are doing is swadhyaya, contemplation. We hear things, we do things. Hey, we have tried this, it works. Something else we tried, like, Mineral was trying to explain, oh my God, I found out something. These are all contemplation, swadhyaya. When we do this swadhyaya, along with, if you remember, swadhyaya is one of the steps in the Ashtanga Yoga, right? When you do swadhyaya, when you do pranayama, when you do yogasana, when you do dharana, when you do dhyana, etc., what happens is ishta devata sampayoga. Whatever God you believe in, you will see, you will get a vision of that. You just think about it. It does not say a specific God. This God, that God, Vishnu. It doesn't say anything. It says ishta devata samprayoga. Whatever you see, whatever you believe in, it will happen to you. Yes, Viral. Raise your hand again.
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt. So I like to briefly go down to 43. Would I able to do that, please?
Please. Go ahead.
So I can see that in yoga practice, when even in religion, it plays a very important role, right?
Right.
Yes. So but in yoga practice, this fire, I know that from other practices, other type of practices, that internal fire is very, very important, and they all keep, I just want to ask like a practical question that about this fire into a belly area.
Yes.
Is that exist in yoga also?
Yeah. I mean,
That's the fire what they're talking about here?
no. See, that is a different fire. See, for example, in the body, there are several chemicals. Our science also tells us that a lot of acidic things are there, which causes heat for different purposes. In the stomach, there is something called jataragni, which helps in digestion, etc. They say. Therefore, that is one kind of fire. This fire, tapas, when I mentioned tapas as a fire, this fire is the intensity with which you attempt the process, right? We differ all we all achieve different types of progress because the intensity with which we try is different. Our starting points are different. What we practice is different. The intensity with which practice is different. Frequency is different. Like, for example, Mary was mentioning that every day she gets up at 5:30 and starts the yoga for 30, 40 minutes every day without fail. That's very good intensity, right? And you say you're always thinking about it. That's a very good intensity, so on and so forth. So that is what I meant by tapas here. It is not the same heat as what is within the body for different functions. Different types of heats are defined in Ayurveda. The science of life, as it is called, Ayurveda. It defines different types of fire and different purposes. Yeah. Now this Ishta Devata Samprayoga. Any comment? Have you people had any vision of your respective Ishta Devatas?
I don't fully understand this 44. So
Okay. So, for example, um, the Ashtanga Yoga, all the 8 steps. What is the final step is Samadhi Anubhava.
Yeah.
The penultimate step is Dhyana, right?
Yes.
You prepare, Yama Niyama helps to prepare the body, the attitudes and behavior. Then Pranayama, Yoga, Yogasana, etc. prepare the body. Then, um, uh, then we lead it to develop a concentrated approach in Dhyana, Dharana and Dhyana. What do you do in Dhyana? If you remember, if you recall the previous chapters, sutras, it talks about there are different types of dhyanas possible. So you can pick up an object of worship and visualize it in the mind. That object of worship could be an Ishta Devata, a god of your choice, a god form of your choice. It could be sound, it could be a flame of a candle, or it could be just a thought, or it could be nothing. You just sit. There are several different methods were discussed in the previous sutras, right? So that's what we talk about. If you are focusing your your dhyana effort towards an Ishta Devata, a god of your personal likes and likes, I would say, or belief, you will get a vision of that god. Like, for example, if people are very devoted Christians, they may get a vision of Christ, Jesus Christ. Whatever you think Christ is, nobody knows exactly how Christ looked like, right? You all have a respective opinion. Or if you've been Krishna, devotee of Krishna, you will see Krishna. To give example, that's what I would give. It does not matter what you believe in. That particular Ishta Devata will show up.
So, but that this is still not the real samadhi because it's still a form, right? It's still.
It is not samadhi, yes. It just says that as defining the process steps, it says if you do all those things, when santushti happens, right? Santosha happens, sukha anubhava comes, anuttama sukha anubhava comes, the tapas purifies everything, and then your Ishta Devata will show up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I understand that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any comment, Kavita, from your side? Okay, Mary.
Samadhi siddhi Ishvara pranidhanat.
Exactly, like Bira said. Then Ishvara pranidhanat samadhi siddhi. Since your Ishta Devata shows up in the vision, that Ishta Devata will grant the boon of samadhi. A little later, they will define what exactly is samadhi. In a very technical term, they will define. But for this, at this sutra level, let us just leave it as a word. Samadhi Anubhava will happen. Here are a couple of things I want to say. Sometimes, sometimes, most of the times, people think that these visions are hallucinations. In fact, many people won't talk about it because they're afraid to be called as hallucinating. Right? The way to determine whether something is a hallucination or not is that hallucinations can never be healthy. It makes the person intellectually, emotionally weaker and weaker. Whereas these visions make you stronger and stronger.
But it's dangerous because we can hold on to that, right? There is a trap in it.
Here is the thing. The way to approach this entire meditation process, dhyana process, is not to have preconceived notion either way. Why is it so important? Because please understand, the problem is in the mind.
Yeah.
The mind is not seeing the Ishta Devata, it is seeing everything else. Therefore, the problem is in the mind. That's what we are trying to change. Using what? We're trying to use the mind itself to solve the problem of mind. That means any thought you have, positive or negative, is detrimental. You should not seek to see a vision, that's also detrimental. Oh, if I see a vision, that can be a problematic. Therefore, I don't want to see a vision. That is also problematic. Why? Because any thought process, positive or negative, pro or against, leads to what is called chitta vritti. Chitta, objective of this Ashtanga Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That is why it defines. That being the case, trying to create a chitta vritti yourself, either seeking it or being very suspicious about it or being careful about it, all are chitta vrittis. The best attitude would be just go into dhyana. If Ishta Devata shows up, shows up. If something else shows up, shows up. Nothing shows up, nothing shows up. You neither seek it nor do you block it. Because seeking is as much bad as blocking. Blocking is as much bad as seeking. That whole trick is not to expect anything. Just sit. Let things come and go. That is why Buddhists develop a technique where they say you just observe your thoughts, they say. Don't suppress it. Observe your thoughts. It will go away.
That's true.
Right? Several people have approached it several different ways and found a technique. But essentially it boils down to this. Chitta vritti has to be sublimated, and therefore I will neither have a good chitta vritti nor a bad chitta vritti. Both are chitta vrittis. From the point of view of chitta vritti nirodha yoga. So I'm very sure all of you, if you practice, I'm sure you've been doing this, and many times you would have seen all kind of visions happening based on your culture, your family background, the kind of life you've led, depending on all those things, all kind of visions happen. Just watch it. Don't block it. Don't become very happy about it. Just watch it. It'll go. Then the samadhi will happen. Samadhi is where you get what we said that, right? Your Atma Darshana is samadhi. Seeing yourself, your true nature. Yes, Mary.
Oh.
Okay, so, sorry,
Okay, you're talking.
So, can I say something, Mr. I'm sorry that I'm so active tonight, but I think that this 45 is the key, because I think that in meditation practice, to get to a point when someone can accept everything, not following anything, let everything come and go, and just sit there without any kind of involvement, I think this is basically the key to any kind of meditation practice. And I couldn't find it yet. Like I could not find the key, like how to become like that. So this is a desire also what I just said. Because right. So but I just feel that in meditation, serious meditation practice, if someone does not get to this point when can just sit and watch and not to accept everything without any kind of wish or good or bad or this and that, that's when someone can really, from that point, can someone really advance.
100% correct. That is the only way.
Yes.
I mean, you kind of prejudge, saying a lot of things, because it's going to, this Yoga Sutra is going to define that later. That is the way. You are neither seeking to see your vision, nor are you blocking the vision. Whatever happens, you are merely a witness. That what is Atma Darshana means? What is your true identity? Your true identity is not the external world. Your true identity is not the body. Your true identity is not your senses. Your true identity is not the mind. Your true identity is not the thoughts. Your true identity is not the intellectual processing and judging. It is beyond all those things. If you remember the Panchakosha, which is introduced a long time back, your inner core is your true identity. What does it do? It just remains a witness. If you look back, I mean, in 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, depending on our age, when we were less than 10 years old, if you're able to go back and thinking and see what we were, and now come back and instantaneously come back and see what we are today, you will recognize one thing. You are not changed a bit internally. You are the same. Your height, weight, etc., shape must have changed. But in what you are, it's not changed. It doesn't change. You can recall all the good things happened to you, all the sorrow happened to you, joyful moments happened to you, all those you can look back. But suddenly it will also flash to you that it is the mind which got involved with sorrow or joy. You were never involved in either of it. You are merely a witness. That flash of understanding will come. That is called Atma Darshana. And therefore, it is not about avoiding sorrow alone. Avoiding sorrow is not the happiness. Seeking the joy is not the happiness. Seeking the pleasure is not the happiness. Avoiding pleasure is not the happiness.
Yes.
Happiness is to understand that you're totally disconnected with the pleasure or pain, joy or sorrow. You have nothing to do with it. You're born with the body has to undergo certain things, it will, until the karma is done. As far as your job is concerned, just be the witness to have whatever happens to your body.
Can I say something, Master? Even if I cannot experience it now, and I'm not sure if I ever will in this lifetime, I'm very happy even just to know about this.
Exactly. Absolutely. That is what Swadhyaya is all about. That's what is Swadhyaya. Right?
Yes.
Swadhyaya, Ishta Devata, Samprayoga. That's what we just read. That's what you're doing. Samadhi Siddhi Ishwara Pranidhana. Right?
Yes. Amazing.
Okay. Then let's go to the, we have another 15 minutes. Okay, next one, please. 46.
This is our favorite with Mary. Let's chant it together, Mary.
No,
Yeah.
you do it. You do it.
No, come in. Let's do it together. Why by myself? Let's do it together. Ready? Let's do
Yep.
it.
Stira Sukham
Asanam.
Stira Sukham Asanam. Right? Think about it. Stira Asanam Sukham. If you are seated firmly, there is nothing like it. What is this Stira Asana? You see that boy sitting here? That's one of the postures. A Siddhasana or a Padmasana or the Padmasana, right? Or Sukhasana. There are 3 or 4 varieties people talk about. Nothing like sitting on a hard floor is far more comfortable than sitting on a plush cushion. Why? Because when you're sitting in a hard surface in a Siddhasana or Padmasana, is the way you can assure your backbone is erect. Otherwise, you slouch. The sofas are the worst inventions. It's very difficult to sit probably with the erect backbone on a sofa. It's impossible. Cushions tilt and all the stuff. Why is it important? Backbone being vertical is important because Kundalini will rise up easily. You're not creating a block, hurdles on the way. That is why Stira Sukha Asanam. Why is that? Then you go to 2.47.
Prayatna Shaitilya Ananta Samapattivyam.
Correct. Samapatti. Yeah.
I love this one.
Yeah, exactly. That is very important, right? Samapatibhyam, Ananta Samapatibhyam, right? That is what you get it. Prayatna. Prayatna is the effort. Then what happens? 248 will answer many of the questions which many of you have been asking today. 2.48, please.
Tato dvandva anapigataha.
Tato dvandva. Dvandva means duality, dual thing, good and bad, pleasure, pain, joy, sorrow, like, dislike, right? Seek, avoid. These are all dualities, plus, minus. Both are bad. Many times we think negative is only bad, positive is also bad. Many times we think negative is good, negative is also bad. I don't want this, I don't want this, we say, right? Whenever you say, I don't want this or I want this, why is it bad? Because whenever you say, I don't want this or I want this, I like this, I don't like this, it is not about the objects, it's not about the senses, it's about your identity, egoistic identity of I. That is where the problem lies. We try to identify ourselves to a mental faculty which enjoys or abhors certain things. That is wrong identification. We gave nothing. We are witness. Just now we said that. Right? Anabhigataha. Then if you do this, dharana, dhyana, if Ishtadevata mission happens, Ishvara Pranidhana happens, you get samadhi, then automatically the dvanda, looking at things from dual perspective, like dislike kind of model, goes away. Then what happens is, if Ishtadevata Siddhartham, it comes also, you are not bothered. If it doesn't come also, you're not bothered. You don't try to do anything. You sit and just enjoy yourself. That is why when the psychologists say, right, I told some time back, in today, if you feel you're very happy all by yourself, it is very dangerous, they say, right? From a social interaction perspective. But we are saying differently here. Not true. If you do it, that is, if you learn to be happy all by yourself, because you understand how these things are related, external objects, your senses, mind, intellect, how they are related, and how you are merely a witness, and therefore you don't want to get too eagerly involved in this. If it is born out of this kind of an understanding, it makes you much more cheerful person. Pragmatically, or what we call as a laukika, or regular life perspective, what does this give you? What kind of strength you get out of this? What kind of skills you get out of this? In a social interaction, not everybody is always nice to you, right? The same person becomes unnice sometimes for whatever reason. Sometimes people don't respect you. Sometimes you don't get to hear the music which you like. Sometimes people thrust things on you which you don't like. So many things happen in a social interaction which is not to your quote unquote liking. Then what happens? You feel sad about it. You feel angry about it. On the other hand, if you've delinked looking at everything from like and dislike perspective, but merely as events, and it's happening, that's it. Then you are no longer an irritable, angry old man in any society, in any group, as they say, right? Grumpy old man, as they say. You no longer like that. Actually, you're more cheerful. Frankly speaking, it is counterintuitive. You become more cheerful, frankly. It's okay. He's doing something which, all right, he doesn't look at me and smile. That's okay. Not a problem. Whoever is talking to me, I will talk. That's enough. You become more cheerful. That is why Tato Dvanda Anabhigataka becomes very important.
I think, Master Rao, would you say that this is when the middle channel, opens up? Is that what it would be in practical terms?
You can say that is one of the means people arrive at this purely by analytical approach also. It's called a Vichara Marga. But because you're talking about Dhyana, Yoga, etc., yes, indeed. What happens is when this Kundalini rises through the Sushumna Nadi, instead of Ida and Pingla, as it rises from chakra to chakra, you get such a level of happiness. You experience, not theoretically, you directly experience that santosha, right? You experience that. You get a very clear evidence, as it were, that your true nature is one of happiness by itself. I mean, it's a very a crude way of saying it, but you recognize that you have a picture of happiness which you brought to share with others. Some way or other. I don't, different people share differently. Yeah. I'm not saying this particular way alone. Any which way. You don't need anyone, other entity, any other person to fill up your empty bowl of happiness. It's not like that. You're full of happiness.
Yes, because we just exist ourselves. There is no one really, like we always think that, Mr. Rao, that we can give others happiness, but that's just so temporary and so illusionary because we really cannot. Don't you think so?
Um, uh,
Well, the real level.
no, you're absolutely right. Only thing is you're extending it to a very, very holistic, whole universe perspective you're talking about. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
These three sutras, 46, 47, 48, they are, how should I say, really inspiring. That at the end, by the 48, someone can get to a point when we don't judge anymore anything and other people, and we don't get bothered by that, and we just get away from all of these opposites, right?
Yes. In my let's say guesswork, if not a judgment, is that I'm very sure all of you are going through this. It's not news to you. You must be going through this. The problem is, like I said, is retaining 24/7. All of us have the problem of retaining it 24/7. But Stita Pragyatva is where we fail. Why I'm saying this, psychologically, these sutras, as I keep reading and explaining, it rings a bell in you. It cannot ring a bell in you unless you already experienced it. Oh yeah, this is what I meant. This is what I experienced. Yes, Mary.
Or it rings a bell because somewhere inside of me, the truth is there.
Yes.
It was touched by hearing it.
Correct.
But it's not something that, I can always have access to.
Correct.
That's
Yes, absolutely correct. In fact, there's an extreme viewpoint, frankly speaking, which says that whatever you need to learn is already inside you. Not only already inside you, it cannot be taught from outside. See, if you go for even the psychologist's model of theory of learning, they say, the modern psychologists say, knowledge is an intersecting product between information and belief system. If you know a set theory and all that, there are Venn diagram there, right? Information is 100 units of information come to you. Facts. Truth. But even though it is certified truth, the way you understand is not the way it is presented. You always take it through a filter of your belief system. That is the problem of learning in the theory of learning as well as psychology. They say it's impossible to teach anybody 100% correctly because they will always take it from their point of view, taking a pinch of salt, as they say, right? They will always filter it through the belief system, right? Therefore, then where is the solution then? The solution lies in recognizing that everything is inside you already. Nobody needs to teach you. It's a question of unraveling. What does it mean unraveling? With what? You have to dismantle your belief system. The belief system is driven by the dvanda, which we just now talked about. All the models of dual, models of like, dislike, various varieties of it manifests several different ways, right? Like, dislike, seek, don't seek, abhor, and so on and so forth, right? That is the one which is covering up the knowledge. So whenever you get into these conversations or meditations or yoga or intellectual discussion, he strikes a bell because at that moment, for the few minutes at least, suddenly the belief system has collapsed. In fact, in Sanskrit, they say explain it is like a very bright lamp is covered by a thick blanket. It is removing that blanket. That is what the process of real wisdom is. That's what they explain. It just cannot be taught from outside. Okay. So I think it's getting nearing 7, so it's time for Meryl to start our lessons. So in last minute, any parting comment from any one of you? Yes, Kavita.
Okay. The point with this session and all, that I used to talk with people, but after learning a lot of things from you and, Dhyana and like religious thing doing and all that, I like to be sometimes alone more than having artificial company. Too much of drama talking happens. Oh yeah, that's too much. So sometimes to be alone is better than having psychos around you. Because there are sometimes, some people are only sweet talkers, so much sweet talkers that some people love it, but they are not to the point. It is hard to understand, especially when you're standing in some religious place, So pleasing people are too many on this earth than understanding the reality of life or understanding ourselves as a human, what we are.
Correct. Very correct.
It keeps juggling in your mind, but then when you start understanding it, it makes you like, no, I'm not wrong by not adding sugar to their words,
Yes. Very. That is why if you read the study of the life of Krishna,
Yeah.
the Indian God is very fascinating. He was absolutely involved with anything and everything in life. He never advocated turning the back on anything. He was not involved internally in anything. From the beginning to this, he died in an accident, till that end, he was personally internally not involved. He continued to be a witness. That is, he's called the real Jagat Guru of the entire universe, because he lived the life. See, it's all, you isolate yourself and then come back into society and do this. You don't get accepted. Saying, "Oh, what do you know? You don't have problems. You've not lived our life. How can I trust you?" He lived like anybody else. Fascinating life. Anyway, Miral, any comment? Last comment?
I thank you so much. I appreciate this sutra study, and also I appreciate everyone else in the class. I'm very happy to be here. That's all.
Mary?
I ditto here. Ditto.
Okay. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Thank you.